Hello my dear children, how are you all? I hope you all very fine, and today we are going to see chapter 6 from history. So that is weavers, iron smelters and factory owners. So what we are going to see my dear children? Weavers, iron smelters and factory owners. So repeat along with me my dear children. So what we are going to see? Weavers, iron smelters and factory owners. So we are going to see about weavers, iron smelters and factory owners in this chapter. Okay. First, so what you have to do? You have to take a note and take notes while listening the class. Then only during the exam, if you see that notes once, you can able to write the exam. You can study, you can revise yourself. Okay. So for that only I am saying, don't just simply see the video. While listening the video, while listening the class, just take notes of your own. Whatever is feeling important, what are the important points you are getting, just note down. That will help you for revision. Okay children, so let's start. So first, Indian textiles and the world market. So now we are going to see about Indian textiles and the world market. Okay, Indian textiles and the world market. Okay, so around 1750, around which year my dear children? Around 1750, India was the world's largest producer of cotton textiles, renowned both for their fine quality and exquisite craftsmanship. So, around 1750, in that year, 1750 year, our India was world's largest producer of cotton textiles. Which textile, my dear children? Cotton textiles. Which country was the world's largest producer of cotton textiles around 1750? Our India. Okay children, so that cotton textiles were famous for both their good quality and good designs. Okay, so our cotton was famous for its fine and good quality and good design. Okay children, okay, then next, they were traded in Southeast Asia like Java, Sumatra and Penang, and West and Central Asia. So where they were traded? In Southeast Asia like Java, Sumatra and Penang, and West and Central Asia. Okay children? Then European trading companies brought Indian textiles and sold them in Europe. So these European trading companies, they brought our Indian textiles, Indian cloth, Indian textiles, and they sold them in their country, Europe. Okay children? So, what we have seen in this slide? So, first around 1750, our India was the largest producer of cotton textiles in the world. So, our cotton textiles were famous for their fine quality and good design and craftsmanship. They were traded in Southeast Asia, Java, Sumatra and Penang, and West and Central Asia. These European trading companies brought Indian textile and sold them in their continent. Okay children, so are you all clear with this first slide? Very good. Now we'll move to the next slide. So, Indian textiles in European markets. So, our textiles in European market, in that country, that continent market. So, that we are going to see. Indian textiles became widely popular by the early 18th century. So, when Indian textile became popular? By the early 18th century, which ordered wool and silk makers in England. So, our Indian textile was popular by the early 18th century in European market. So, that made that wool and silk makers in England worried because Indian textiles becoming famous. So, they will suffer some loss, right? Because they are producing wool and silk. If the buyers for wool and silk reduces, they will face a loss, right? Because demand goes for Indian textiles. Okay. So, they began to protest against import of Indian cotton textiles. So they were like protesting. Okay, we don't need import of, that means don't get Indian cotton textile into European market. They were protesting against. In 1720, the British government enacted a legislation banning the use of printed cotton textiles, since in England called the Calico Act. So they banned the use of printed cotton textiles. In England, textile industries had just begun to develop. They wanted to secure market within the country by preventing the entry of Indian textiles. So now in England, what happened? They have started textile industries and they have to secure the market. They have to be good and they want to prevent the entry of Indian textiles so that their textiles will be selling. Okay. Okay. So next, the calico printing industry that set up under government protection. In that, what happened? Indian designs were imitated. They were doing the Indian designs and printing that in England. Okay. And in 1764, the spinning jenny like this, spinning jenny. So this was invented by John Hay. Then Richard Arkwright in 1786 invented a steam engine. So this made one revolution, one change in cotton textile weaving. Indian textiles dominated world trade till the end of 18th century. So till the end of 18th century, who dominated? Which textiles dominated the world? Which was famous around the world? Indian textiles. Indian textiles was famous all over the world. European trading companies purchased cotton and silk textiles in India by importing silver. So what they did, they have imported silver to India and in return they purchased cotton and silk textiles from India. Understood, children? Okay. Next, who were the weavers? Now we'll see who were the weavers. Who are the weavers? So these weavers belong to the communities that specialized in weaving and skills that passed from one generation to the next. So these weavers, there's some community group of people, they were specialized in weaving, in making cloth. And this skill, making cloth, the skill passed from one generation to the next. So father may be weaving, so he taught his son for weaving. So like that, this skill passed from generation to generation. Some of the communities famous for weaving were the Tanti weavers of Bengal, the Julahas or Momin weavers of North India, the Sail and Kaikolar and Devangs of South India. These were like famous communities. They were famous for weaving. So next, so spinning is the first stage of production where chakra and takli were used. So in making cotton, so what is the first step? That means for making the textile, for making the cloth, what is the first step? Spinning. So spinning is the first stage of production where chakra and takli was used. So chakra and takli were used. So they will spin the thread like this. Okay, they will be spin like this so that thread was woven into the cloth. Like this they will spin and that cloth was, the thread was woven into the cloth. Okay, like this the weaver will spin and this is the first method, spinning. Okay, so like this he will make the textile. For coloring textiles, what they will do, the thread was dyed, they will color the thread. Okay, that was known as rangras. They will color the thread with dye, different colors. They will color the thread, then they will make colored textile. For printed cloth, they needed the help of specialized block printers, that is known as chip pickers. Okay. So they have specialized block printers for printed cloth, printed design. Okay, so that is called chip pickers. Okay, understood, children? So what is the first stage of production? spinning. So in that what is needed? Chakra and takli. Okay, and next for coloring what they will do, the thread was dyed by the dyer. Okay, color dyer, that is called rangas. And after that for printing they use block printers, that is known as chipikers. Okay, and okay, then next the decline of Indian textiles. Okay, so how Indian textiles faced a downfall. Okay, so in Britain, cotton industries were developed which affected textile producers in India. Now in Britain, in England, what happened? Cotton industries developed. So that affected textile producers in India. Okay. So Indian textiles have to compete with British textiles. Okay. In European and American markets, now Indian textiles have to compete with British textiles. Okay, so there was a competition. So because of that there is a decline, light downfall in Indian textiles. And also for exporting Indian textiles to England, there is like it was difficult, it became difficult because they were given high duties, high tax they have to pay if they want to import, that means export Indian textile to England. If they want to take Indian textile to England, they have to pay high tax. Okay, so because of that they faced a decline. Next, cotton mills come up. Cotton mills come up. So in 1854, the first cotton mill was set up in Bombay. And where the first cotton mill was started? In Bombay. In which year? 1854. And it was drawn as an important port for the export of raw cotton from India to England and China. So in cotton mill, they used to make the cotton, right? So raw cotton, they will make the raw cotton and they will export that cotton from India to which place? To England and China. In Bombay, over 84 mills were established by Parsi and Gujarati businessmen by 1900. Mills started developing in cities and the first mill in Ahmedabad was started in 1861. Okay children, and growth of cotton mills. Now there are more cotton mills, but they need labor for working there, right? So these poor peasants, farmers, artisans, then agricultural, these people, they were learning little. They started working in this mills. Okay. So where was the first cotton mill was set up? In Bombay. In which year, my dear children? 1854. And it had grown as an important port of export of raw cotton from India to England and China. In Bombay, how many bills, over how many bills were established? 84 mills by Parsi and Gujarati businessman. In which year, my dear children? 1900. Then mills started developing in the cities. And the first mill in Ahmedabad was started in which year, my dear children? 1861. First mill in Ahmedabad was started in 1861. Then growth of cotton mills, they need many laborers for working, many workers they need. So who started working in that places? These poor peasants, agricultural laborers, farmers, then small artisans. So they started working in the mills. Next, textile factory industry in India faced some problems. Okay, Indian textile industry faced some problems. What are the problems? Like they have to compete with Britain. That from Britain some textile will be imported to India, right? They have to face competition, and like in most countries the government support industrialization by imposing heavy duties on imports. So they started putting heavy duties for imports. So, okay, so because of that some competition is eliminated. Okay, because if something is have to imported, they have to pay heavy tax. Okay, and next, first major sport in the development of cotton factory production in India. Therefore, during First World War, when textile imports from Britain declined, no, so when textile imports from Britain declined during First World War, and Indian factories were called upon to produce cloth for military supplies. So for military supplies, who had to produce the cloth? Indian factories. Okay, now we are going to see about sword of Tipu Sultan. So it's wood steel. This is made up of wood steel. Okay, so the sword of Tipu Sultan was very special. It is like very hard and very sharp edge. That means if it is used, it will easily easily go into the opponent armor that opponent, that means opposite who is there, he will wear some armor, right, with steel dress or some armor to protect himself. He will be wearing that dress upon, right, that is called armor. So this can go into that armor and kill that person. Like that, it was very sharp and very hard. Okay, so this quality of sword come from a special type of high carbon steel that is called woods. Okay, that was produced all over South India. This wood steel, when made into swords, they produce a very sharp edge. Okay, like with a flowing water pattern. That means it will, like, very easily it will flow into that opponent's armor. Okay. Next, so wood steel, they will produce this in many hundreds of smelting furnace in Mysore. So they will use smelting furnace for producing this. So in this furnace, iron was mixed with charcoal and put inside some clay pots. So inside the clay pot, they will put iron and charcoal and mix, and they will put inside the small clay pots. Okay, so what was put inside the small clay pot? Inside the clay pot, they will put the iron mixed with charcoal, and after that, with control of temperature, they will produce the smelters. Those who are making it into sword, they will produce steel ingots that is used for, they will smelt this and they will use for sword making. They will use this for sword making. So woods, that is an anglicized version of the Kannada word. Okay, that is in Kannada that is called as ukku. In Telugu it is called as hukku, and in Tamil and Malayalam it is called as urukku. That meaning is steel. Okay, and wood steel making process were widely known in South India. In South India it is famous. It completely lost its existence by mid 19th century. So by mid 19th century, its existence was stopped. Okay, it lost its famous and all. And next, the swords and armor making industry died with the conquest of India by the British and imports of iron and steel from England. This placed the iron and steel produced by craft people by India. So this sword making, armor making, this industry stopped when the British started importing their iron and steel from England in India. They started importing iron and steel to India. Because of this Indian steel, Indian iron, everything, they faced a decline. Then abandoned furnaces in village. So wood steel production, they required high specialized technique for refining iron, for making smelting, for everything they need furnaces, right? So for this, what happened? Like some of the forest area, Indians were not allowed to enter, and the government granted access to the forest in some areas, but they have to pay very high tax. So these are, because of all these, it's faced a decline, and by late 19th century, iron and steel started imported from Britain. So all competition and because of these problems, they started facing a decline. Then iron and steel iron and steel factories came up in India. In 1904, Charles Belt, an American geologist, and Dorabji Tata, the eldest son of Jamshedji Tata, they traveled to Chhattisgarh in search of iron ore deposits. So where they can find iron ore. So they were searching the raw material. So again, they wanted to set up a modern iron and steel plant in India. Okay, they traveling for months and finally this Welch and Joachim found Rajhara Hills. There they can find finest ore in the world. But the region was dry and water was not found nearby. So they still continued the search and Agrarius helped in the discovery of, who helped? Agrarius. He helped in the discovery of a source of iron ore. Okay. So large area of the forest was cleared on the bank of the river Subarnarekha to set up the factory and industrial township. That is in which place? Jamshedpur. Okay, so like the Tata Iron and Steel Company, Tisco began producing steel in 1912. So when Tisco stopped producing steel in 1912, what is the full form of Tisco? The Tata Iron and Steel Company. The Tata Iron and Steel Company. Before Tisco, India was importing steel that were manufactured in Britain. So before Tisco came in India, what happened? India imported steel that were manufactured in Britain. So steel was coming from Britain. After Tisco, the situation changed. In 1914, the First World War broke out and steel produced in Britain had to meet the demand of war in Europe. So there only that they have to spend the steel what they produced. Okay, so the war continued for several years. This war, First World War, that was continued for several years. So Tisco had to produce shells and carriage wheel for the war. So Tisco became the biggest steel industry within the British Empire. So which became the biggest steel industry? Tisco. Okay. Next, in case of iron and steel, industrial expansion occurred within when British imports into India declined and the markets of Indian industrial goods increased. So, in case of iron and steel, what happened? British import declined, it reduced and Indian industrial goods increased. And next, the development of nationalist movement and industrial class emerged stronger and the demand for government protection became louder. So now government protection is also became louder. So like why it became government protection became louder? Because of nationalist movement. So they are saying we are Indians. So what have to be here? Indian things have to be here. So because of that movement, everything has changed. So that's all for today's chapter. Okay children. So what is the chapter name? Weavers, iron smelters and factory owners. So we have seen first about the textile industry. Then we have seen about weavers, then about iron smelters, iron and steel industry. Then last we have seen in the middle itself we have seen factory owners. So that's all for today's chapter. Okay children. So thank you. Have a nice day. If you have any doubt, just see this video once again. Thank you children.